available and maybe where we're going to be heading for 2016 with some additional offerings, how the rates stack up against the competition. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised when you see these rates if you've never seen them before. Spend a little bit of time on the application. Most of the people on these webinars have seen applications for years, know how to fill them out. They're all fairly generic, just laid out maybe a little bit different. Give you some tips on submitting new business, and then go through an electronic app process that doesn't take very long to go through it. I think you'll like what you see on the new Online Express app and how it can be advantageous to you and I as we're out there in the sales field. So first off, talk a little bit about where the company's located. They're located in Beaver, Pennsylvania. They are a fraternal that was established back in 1892, just so a lot of you will ask about the financial backing of the company. You can get these little financial reports of their competitive data, how they stack up against the top 25 companies. They've got over $1 billion in assets that is growing each year. So they're a very, very solid program. And just in case anybody asks, they do carry 95% reinsurance on this product, and that's with a very large company, and that most of you know as Aetna. So very, very good company, very good backing, and a great back office TPA out in Salt Lake City. So here are the states' availability right now. The purple states are approved. We have filed in California, and we're waiting approval there. Haven't heard anything yet. It'll probably be later on this year before California comes online. That's not an easy state to get a product approved in. But you'll take a look at right at the very bottom of the screen there, guys, gals. There's a 7% discount available for all states. And in most of the states, only one person need apply. In a couple of states like Illinois, Ohio, and New Jersey, 2 people have to apply. We filed, the one only applied, but they came back and said, no, we can't let you do that, and which is amazing to me, because there's some companies out there that I guess they're waiting until everybody's rate increase history comes through, and then when you file for a rate increase, you get caught, and they say, okay, you got to change that to 2 people. That happened with a couple other companies that we work with that started out with a 1-person need apply, and then they came back and said, no, you got to have 2. GCU got hammered right off the bat with that. So in Illinois, Ohio, New Jersey, 2 people have to apply. So just keep that in mind if you're listening from those states. Here are some of our projected rollout states. Now, not near all of these will happen in 2016, but we are, aggressively going to market in other states as we move through this offering. So GCU's name is going to be around for quite a while, and they are putting up pretty good numbers right now. Of course, like the old farmer said, he doesn't want to own all the land, just what lays next to his. That's kind of the way all these insurance companies are. They don't have all the premium, but they're after it. So we're going to come out with several other states going later on in the year, and we will keep you informed as we move through those states. So if you have any questions on that, send that out to Todd, and he will definitely answer you as we move through here. Okay, so as with anything, you and I get out there in the sales field. I don't get out near as much as I used to, but guys, gals, just so you know, I started selling Medicare supplements back in 1984. The Medicare Part A deductible back in those days was $356. Things have changed a little bit. And as you well know, I'm not selling the same Med Supp now that I sold back in those days. So why do we think you want to take a look at GCU? What does GCU bring to the table that maybe some of the carriers that you're currently using do not? So that's kind of what we want to show you today. The rates on Plan F, Plan G, there's a lot of talk out there, Plan F is going away. I've had a couple of my policyholders have agents stop in and say, oh, by gosh, if you don't get rid of that Plan F now, when they make the change in 2020, you won't have any insurance. You and I both know that's not true. They're never going to take a guaranteed renewable product away from somebody. Anytime they make changes like that, there's always usually a time for that person to make the change from where they're at to what is currently offered. So Plan F is still being widely sold by a lot of carriers, and Plan G also is becoming very, very popular. 7% household discount in every state. We'll talk about that a little more in detail. You can contract today. Guys, gals, I have had people contract early in the morning, call us, say, listen, I love the rates, love the process. I've got somebody I need to sell to this afternoon. Can you make that happen? Try that with a couple other companies out there and see how good it works. I actually have done that with some of the carriers that we have this process involved in, and GCU being one of those. Had people get contracted today, write business this afternoon. Now, you've got to have a clean background. I mean, you can't be behind child support, you can't have state tax liens, things like that out there once we do the vector check, because we will do that. But if you've got a clean background and you got a couple of cases you really want to get contracted for, get a hold of us, let us know. We'll push you through and get you contracted very, very good and very quick. Got a great agent portal for you to access, a company that has good solid foundations. Two of the things that I just absolutely love are the telephonic app process. I can have you, if you'll use it properly, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here shortly today, you can virtually eliminate buyer's remorse from your policyholders. Two words you and I hate, buyer's remorse. I've in 31 years or 32 years of doing this, I have wrote a policy, and before I get back to the office, they called to cancel it. I hate that. I know you guys have had that happen to you before in those types of situations. That's not good. If you'll follow what I'm going to show you here today, I almost can guarantee, not 100%, but I can get it up there in the high 90s, that you won't have those issues again if you'll do it the way I show you here shortly. Okay, so take a look at some of the rates. In Arizona, if you take a look, Manhattan and GCU, both right there in the 120 range, both offer a 7% discount. Both released probably in about the same time. We released about 5/18 of 2015. They released theirs in July of 2015, and we've talked with the upper manager at GCU. There is no rate increase coming that we know of. We don't think you'll see a rate increase on this block of business until sometime in 2017. That's a very good, solid way to hold those rates. If you take a look at that with the household discount, that brings that down to $112.42. That would put Manhattan also right there in the 112, maybe 30 cents. They might be 10, 12 cents less than we are, 50 cents. I don't know what it would be, but it didn't much. So Medco also got a good rate right there at 123. But here's where, let me show you the map of Arizona. Now, I've got these maps of every state on here. I'm not going to pull them up on each one of these states, but the reason I want you to take a look at Arizona, if you're listening from out there or if you're selling over the phone and you sell in Arizona, we got the reinsurer and the insurance company to agree to only having a very small portion of Arizona in Area 2, and that's the greater Phoenix area. You don't have to go outside of Phoenix very far to get back into that Area 1 area. So most companies don't do that. Like if you drop down to the 857, you're getting down into Tucson. Tucson's a very good sized city. A lot of companies will make that an Area 1 or an Area 2, I'm sorry. Stop and think about that. If they're competing at an Area 2 and we're at an Area 1, think of the advantage that gives you in Arizona. A lot of business coming out of Arizona, and we're very pleased with that. So take a look at that map. These are very helpful maps if you have downline agents that you have in your organization, and maybe an agent calls and you know he's calling from the 860 area factor, and he says, well, what is that rate up there in 860? You can just look at this map and say, well, that's about 112.42 for a 67-year-old female. So very, very helpful maps. As you can see, these rates are based on a female age 65 through 67 non-smoker Plan F. So I think, I'm not for sure, but Todd would say we probably got these for F and G, but right now I'm going to say just for Plan F. But we have these maps for every state GCU's in, so very helpful if you do have downline agents. Okay, in Illinois, GCU's coming in at 112.87. 7% household discount. That brings us in at 104.97. I got to tell you guys, that's a very, very good rate in the state of Illinois. And if you look across there, then at the annual rate, I just put the monthly and the annual, they're the same. It's $1354.40. So pretty strong rate. If you look down at the bottom, you got Mutual of Omaha at 124. They're $12 a month higher than as prior to the discount. So very, very competitive in Illinois. As you will see, the same thing in Indiana. Company out there out of Georgia, Bankers Fidelity, rolling in at 120.52 with a 10% household discount, but that's still more than our that will still figure out to be more a month than our rate at 114.19 when you reduce it down with 7% at 106.20. Very, very competitive in Indiana. When you add all the other things that we offer you to get contracted to admin business, I think you're going to find you've got a huge competitive advantage by using these processes. Ohio, another great state. Shenandoah's coming in at 123.95. GCU's coming in at 122.16. We offer a 7% discount. They offer a 5%, so that puts our Ohio agents in good shape. Brings us in about 113.61 with a household discount. Pennsylvania, I'd like to see a little more traction in Pennsylvania than we're getting. We're starting to market that pretty heavy in Pennsylvania, but we just, that's GCU's home state. We come in at 126.14. LCBA, Loyal Christian Benefit Associations, at 128. Again, our discount's 7, theirs is 5, so that gives us a very competitive advantage at 117.31. Again, only one person need apply. Stop and think about that advantage when only one person has to apply to get the discount. And again, it's not a husband-wife discount. It could be two brothers living together, a brother and his sister, a cousin and his brother. We'll get into the details a little bit more, but how many times have you walked into maybe somebody turning 65, a man or a woman turning 65, and their spouse is 4, 5, 6 years younger than they are? You can immediately use that as a closing tool. And so, Mr. Jones, since you are married here, we're going to be able to go ahead and lower your premium another 7% and give you a household discount. So just a helpful closing tool to where if two people have to apply, it takes that off of the table. Or have you ever been in a situation to where you've got a husband and wife and they're both interested in your product, but one of them's on oxygen or one of them's not in very good health? So you can still use that to your advantage. Mr. Jones, I understand that your wife's probably not going to qualify, but since you are, living together, married, we're still going to be able to give you a more competitive rate with a discount because it's a household discount factor. So you can use that to your advantage a lot out there in the sales field. I don't know how many times that's come up in the last 37 years to where if I had had that on every product I had to sell, I could have used it a lot more than I do now. Virginia, we just released Virginia on the 11th day of this month, and which was what, yesterday, I believe, yes. We're coming in at 104.90, 7% household discount. Shenandoah's a couple dollars higher than we are, but they only offer a 5% discount. So stop and think about getting a Plan F in the state of Virginia at $97.56. Guys, gals, that's a great, great price, $97 a month for a Plan F. So we look for good things. We're getting a lot of contracts coming through on Virginia. If you're in Virginia or selling Virginia over the phone, go ahead and get with our contracting department after the webinar, and we'll get you hooked up and get you going. Again, only one person needs to apply for the discount. Okay, so there is all the rates. I know Todd will email this stuff out. This just kind of shows the household discount, where the rate is. We always want people to take a good look at the rates. If you take a look at Wisconsin, the base rate, $82 a month with the discount. Another good state. We're getting a lot out of Wisconsin. Just didn't want to go through and put all these up here and try to get moved through. So anyway, going to buzz right through this application. Got a lot of stuff to cover. Don't want to spend a whole lot of time on the application. You guys know how to fill out an application. Usually your first part of any application is going to be the personal information of your insured, the name, social security number. On our application, part 2 of that selection is the plan that they are applying for. Generally speaking, the tobacco question will be right there. Some companies make us, or some states require it to be with the health questions, but generally speaking, it'll be right there. Most every state we offer A, F, G, and N. There's a couple others that we have to offer, state required, a Plan C, something like that. So it'll always be state specific on your app. The eligibility questions on every app, when did you get on Medicare Part A? If you're not on, when is your eligibility date? And so on. Part 4 is the current insurance situation. Are they applying during a guarantee issue period? I will tell you, when you look at this, when you look at question number 3, question number 4, and question number 5, generally about 99% of the time, one of those 3 will be answered yes, the other 2 will be answered no. About the only time that would be different is if you had someone who had no insurance at all. So if they answer question number 4, yes, do you have another Medicare supplement policy in force? Then you know 3 and 5 are going to be no. If they answer question number 5, yes, you know 4 and 3 are going to be no, because it talks about their group health insurance, so they wouldn't have a Med Supp with a group health plan. Standard stuff on every application for every company. Very important that you remember page 3, part 5, general information. This is where we may, if you do a telephonic app or an online express app, you have to answer this question: did you read the general information located on page 3 of the application? The correct answer is always yes. If you say no, that'll stop the interview. So here's how I go through this part of this application. I will say, Mr. Jones, first off, you got to understand you don't need more than one Medicare supplement policy. One is fine. If you purchase our policy, you may want to evaluate your existing health coverage and decide if you need multiple coverages. You shouldn't have more than one again. And Mr. Jones, should you become eligible for Medicaid in the future, please contact me and I'll show you what your rights and advantages are at that point. And that's what 4, 5, and 6 pertain to. So that's how I cover that. I turn around, make sure they see it. In case the underwriter should ask them, did they have that read to them, they can always say yes. Part 6 is your guarantee issue eligibility, and those are state specific. Those are different within each state. Part 7 is your household premium discount, and it says right there, are there between 2 and 5 adults over the age of 30 living in the home? So if you have an 18-year-old grandchild living with them, and that's the only 2 people in the house, the insured and the 18-year-old, that does not qualify. They got to be above age 30. If they answer that yes, put their name down, put their social security number down so that we can verify that's an active name. It's not a made-up name, and we'll go ahead and get that discount out. Premium payment and admin is Section 8. Always request your effective date if it's other than the effective date, if it's other than the application date, which a lot of times it is. If I wrote a policy today, I'd probably want it effective May 1, or not always, but generally speaking. Select your bank draft date. Now let me take a little bit more time right here, guys, so that everybody understands the correct procedure. If I write a policy today and I want a 5/1 effective date, once that, and again, this is pertaining to automatic bank draft, once the underwriter gets on the phone, they will tell that person, Mr. Jones, now we're going to draft within the next couple of days. Is that okay? If he says yes, we will draft. Now here's the key. If I make my effective date anytime between the first day of May and the 10th day of May, they won't get a recurring bank draft until June. But if I write a policy today with a 5/1 effective date, and I say I want the recurring bank draft on the 15th, anytime after the 10th, if I say the 15th, then we're going to draft in the next couple of months, or the next couple of days, I'm sorry, and then we will draft again on May the 15th for the June premium. So they're going to get two drafts within a short period of time. So just, that's never a problem as long as the policyholder knows about it, because then they can make their decision. But if you let them get blindsided, they're going to call you up and say, hey, they distracted my bank account again. What happened? So make sure you discuss that with the policyholder. If you have any questions, shoot that off to Todd. He'll give you, draw it out for you. But I know we cover a lot here, and sometimes it's hard to remember everything. But any draft date after the 10th of the month, they're going to get drafted on that requested bank draft the second time. So again, not a big deal if they know about it, but make sure that they do understand it. Bottom part's pretty simple. The amount, do you want it drafted now, or do you want it, on a certain date? You can put that down. Maybe you write it today and they say, well, I don't get my check until next Wednesday, which is on the 23rd. Then you can put down draft the initial premium on the 23rd. We'll do whatever you want us to do. We don't want to cause any hardship or overdrafts for the policyholder. Okay, part 9 is your health questions, guys, gals, yes, no application, so pretty simple. Make sure you pre-qualify before you do the telephonic app or the online express app. You don't want to submit a policy on somebody that's got Alzheimer's disease. That's an automatic knockout. And it's usually within the last 2 years we're asking these questions. If you go down to question number 3, in the past 2 years, have you been hospitalized not 2 times, more than 2 times? So I always ask that question because a lot of times you'll hear them say, well, yeah, I think I have. Let's see. And then maybe one of those times was for an outpatient cataract surgery that they had at the hospital. That's not a hospital stay. You and I both know that's an outpatient. So make sure you dig in there and don't shoot yourself in the foot and miss a sale that you could have maybe had. Diabetes is always a tough underwriting question. If you look at number 4, if you have diabetes, do you have any of the following conditions? Diabetic retinopathy, that's a problem with your eyes. Peripheral vascular disease, neuropathy, that's where you get a lot of tingling in the hands or the toes. Just, make sure if you say neuropathy, don't just say neuropathy. A lot of times they forget what it is. Say, well, do you have neuropathy? Do you get any like tingling in your hands or your feet? Make sure you get those things identified because the last thing you want to do is sell something only to have it come back to be declined. Any heart condition, including high blood pressure. Here's kind of the guidelines with diabetes and blood pressure medicines. We'll take a look as long as they've got good steady readings, they can take a oral medication, maybe 2, and a couple of blood pressure medicines. What we're looking for is control. Have they been on those medications for 2 years? Are they getting good readings? If you're talking to somebody that said, well, yeah, I've got diabetes and the doctor just put me on another medicine because I was having trouble controlling it, we're probably not going to take a look at that for quite some time because we don't know if their diabetes is under control. Let me tell you, if you will go to the CDC website, you will see people with diabetes are 2 times, especially insulin dependent, 2 times more expensive to treat than non-diabetics. So take a good chance or take a good time there, look at that. And I don't think we're any more strict on diabetes than a lot of carriers out there because they all know through their actuarial departments where these claims come from with diabetics. So take a look at that. If you have any questions, get a hold of us. When you drop down to the prescription name, you'd be surprised how many applications will come in and they'll say, well, metformin, reason taken, diabetes, date last used, blank, or maybe the dosage is blank. Make sure you put like if it's metformin, say it's metformin, 100 milligrams or 500 milligrams, reason for taking diabetes, the date you used it today, because that's a maintenance medication. So fill that out completely. That way we got something to go on when we hit the script check, and make sure you get all the medicines they're currently taking. I always just have them get the pill bottles and bring them to me. Okay, signatures, everybody knows what that is. Not going to spend any time with it. So let's talk about the good stuff you and I like, and that's actually getting business into the company. Guys, we give you several different ways to submit business. You can always do face-to-face, a paper app, a telephonic express app, or an online express app, which we have been using now for about 6 months, getting a lot of really, really good feedback. So let's talk about some pros and cons of doing what we call the express application. I get asked several times in the course of talking about this, is this a drug screen or a pre-qualification call? The answer to that, guys, is no. This application is a total application that we will complete in full over the telephone. No paper except replacement forms, or if you're from like Illinois, you got the Illinois checklist, and the application does have simplified issue or underwriting, and we've been issuing about 96% of the business. 15-minute process from start to finish if you are doing open enrollment or guarantee issue. Why? Because we don't have any health questions or medications to verify if it's open enrollment or guarantee issue. Very quick process. If you're doing a fully underwritten app, depending on the policyholder, you can expect 20 to 25 minutes. But again, I'll show you the benefit and the beauty of this is you have a policy number at the end of a phone call. It's as close to an instant issue Medicare supplement policy I think you'll ever see. So several benefits and the things that I want to tell you about here today of doing this telephonically or the online express app. You get immediate results of the sale, and I'll show you how this is so important to eliminate buyer's remorse a little bit further down the road here, which is a time saver not only for the client, for you. How many times have you ever got, sold a policy, 2 weeks later find out it got declined, and then you got to pick up the phone and tell the policyholder, Miss Jones, I just heard back from the insurance company, they declined our application. However, I've got a couple of other very good opportunities that I think will work out good for you. Are you going to be there tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock or the next day at, say, 1 o'clock in the afternoon? You try to get an appointment with them again. If you're lucky enough to do that, then what do you have to do? You got to get in your car, drive back to that policyholder's house, and try to place another piece of business. So my point is this. If you're going to get a declination, and in this business, you and I all know we're going to get those, that's part of this business, doesn't it make more sense that if you're doing a face-to-face interview with that policyholder, or maybe even an online or over-the-phone application and you get a decline, wouldn't it be a lot easier if you're sitting there face-to-face with that policyholder and say, you know what, Ms. Jones, sorry that didn't go through, but however, based on your situation, I think we got a couple of other situations here that's going to be beneficial, save you some money. My point being, it's a lot easier to switch gears if you're right there with them than to have to pick up the phone 2 or 3 weeks later and try to get back in and do it again. Two things that, help. Number one, that is going to be less travel time for you. You don't have to go back and sell the same dirt twice. You don't have to spend more gas money going to somewhere you've already been. And that's just, a lot easier to change gears if you're right there. Okay, so another thing that we have found that agents really like is lets us pay them a lot quicker. If you're doing an application today, you get the approval today, it goes to policy issue, the commission gets drawn, and when you get paid, that just only makes sense. If a lot of companies won't pay you until they approve it and draft. So if it takes 2 weeks to approve it, you're down the road before you get paid. Less mistakes on the application. If you're like me, I've made several mistakes in the last 32 years when I fill out Medicare supplement applications or annuities or anything else. With this process, you can't make a mistake because it's done over the telephone. The underwriter cannot move to screen 2 until every required field is filled out on the application. You'll see that when I put the online app up there. Okay, so you call 866-579-3418 and you do your agent process, and they will make sure one of the first things they'll do is ask for your agent number. They'll let them know that your licenses are up to date and current. Then they will ask you your policyholder's name, address, and several things about maybe the premium draft date. And then they're going to say, okay, here's what they're going to ask you personally, the appointment, the name, the effective date, the bank draft date, where do you want me to mail the policy? Do you want me to send it to you or the policyholder? You can pick and choose on each application. You don't have to pick one and always stick with it for everybody. Excuse me. What city and state the application is taken in, and if you're replacing the name of the carrier. At that point, guys are going to say, okay, Bill, go ahead and put the client on the telephone. Now, at that point, you remember that application we took a look at there just a minute ago? They're going to start going right back down through there. They're going to ask everything on that application. They're going to neatly type it in. Now, if you go down to number 7, where it says household premium discount information, and then look at number 9. I got 7, 8, and 9 out of order. The reason I've done that is for your benefit when you're face-to-face with a policyholder and you hear the underwriter ask the health questions, and then they verify the medications. Once they get to that and they say, okay, Miss Jones, we're going to move to the premium payment and administration, at that point, the policy has been approved. They won't get premium information if it's going to be a declination. Once they ask the medical questions and you hear or you see the client say, okay, they've answered all the medical questions, they've given the prescription drug information, and then the phone comes back to you and they don't give them any banking information, at that point, you know you need to start looking in your kit for somebody with a little bit better underwriting, because you just got a decline. So that's why I put those 3 out of order, so that you will be expecting that if you're face-to-face selling and you hear them verify medical, prescription, banking, bingo, you can move on to your next opportunity because that policy just got approved. Number 10 is your agreement acknowledgement section, and at that point, they're going to hand that phone back to you, the agent. So let's say in our example here, everything went as a plan for, they got approved. When that phone comes back to you, the agent, or me, the agent, here's what I do every time, and here's what you need to do to really cement the sale. The phone comes back to you, and at that point, you hit the speaker button on their phone. If they don't have a speaker button on their phone, I don't use their phone. I'll use my iPhone and I'll put it on speaker. You can't have it on speaker the whole time. They will tell you to take it off. But once that phone comes back to you, there's just a couple of verifications, and I want my policyholder to hear what is about to be said. At that point, they're going to hear the underwriter say to me, okay, Bill, give me just a second here and I'll have your policy number. You okay? She comes back on, she says your policy number is 2896344. I write that down. And then she'll say it's effective and everything's fine. At that point, I'm going to start asking some questions because I want my policyholder to hear this. Let's say I've got Adriana on the phone in underwriting. I'll say, okay, now Adriana, my policy number is 2896344. Is that right? Correct. And that's going to be effective on May the 1st. Is that correct? Yes. And the bank draft, I'm going to read that back to her. We're going to draft on the 5th, just verifying some things. And then I'm going to say, so Adriana, since she's approved them, we do not have any waiting periods for pre-existing conditions. She'll be fully covered on April or May the 1st. Don't you think it would be okay for us to go ahead and notify her other carrier not to draft her bank in May? Bill, that's fine. She's covered. Thanks. Hang up. Now, why do I want my policyholder to hear all that? Because they heard with their own ears that they're covered. Not just me telling them that. They heard it. They heard the underwriter verify it. So at that point, I'm going to say, Ms. Jones, go ahead and get your XYZ insurance card out and turn it over on the back. There's one more number we want to call, and we're going to call that toll-free telephone number on the back of it for customer service. We're going to get them on the phone. We're going to let her identify herself and say it's okay to talk to them, to Bill. At that, I'm going to get on the phone and I'm going to say, listen, Ms. Jones is going to want you to not draft her bank account in May of this year because she's making some changes in her insurance. Do you need us to write a letter verifying that? Most of them, since they've already verified with her that it's okay to talk to me, will say, no, that's not necessary. We'll cancel her insurance May the 1st, not draft a bank account. If they say, yes, I think we'd like to have a letter, get a fax number and fax it to them when you get back to the office that night. So by doing that, you've now done things for your policyholder that most agents don't take the time to go ahead and do. So when you walk out that door, especially if it's a new policyholder, not maybe somebody that you've got an existing relationship with, you've done things for them that they don't even have to worry about canceling their other policy. It's all taken care of. Guys, gals, I'm telling you, if you'll follow that kind of in that order, you won't lose hardly any sales because of buyer's remorse. They're not going to generally take the time to cancel your sale because they've already called and canceled their other one. I mean, it just really cements the sale, helps lock it in. So the policy gets issued, the sale's complete, you and I can move on to our next opportunity. Okay, so the remote sale, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. It's basically the same thing as a kitchen table. You do a three-way phone call instead of being present in front of them. You stay on the phone the entire time with the policyholder. You got to be quiet. You can't coach. You can help with certain things like their address if they have a problem with that once they're re-verifying that, or their current insurance if they need the policy number. But what you can't help in is the medical and the things like prescription drugs. They have to be able to do that themselves. If I'm doing a three-way phone call, a lot of times I've got a copy of the banking information. I'll have them send that to me if I've talked to them previously, or maybe they're a previous client and I'm just trying to save them some money. Maybe I've got their banking information. You can help with that, but they will say, Ms. Jones, is it okay for Bill to provide that? So what you really got to make sure is they know how they can handle their own medical questions. That's the most important part. That's the very HIPAA protected stuff we got to make sure we don't violate. So again, make sure that you make the sale before you call the tele-underwriting department. It's not their job to sell the policy. That's what we get paid for. This is what I use. This is what I call a cheat sheet. We can send this out to you. These are things that you generally can expect that we're going to ask on the phone. The underwriter will, their social security number. I assure you they'll ask that twice, at the beginning of the call and at the end of the call for verification. 9 times out of 10, their Medicare number will be their social security number with the letter A behind it. But if it's not, you got to make sure that you have access to both of those. Make sure they have their banking information. Make sure they have their medication to provide. Every time we ask one of these questions, if they have to get up and go get this kind of stuff, it slows the process down. It frustrates you. It frustrates the policyholder. So make sure that you have this kind of stuff in front of you. I call that a little cheat sheet, and it's very, very handy to make sure everybody's prepared, not just the client, but you also. Now, once you've done it a few times, you don't need to keep that in front of you. You're used to it. But I assure you, on fully underwritten, every one of those are going to be asked for. Remember, do not coach the client, and you'll be in good shape. Okay, now, guys, we have come up with what we call, it's not really an e-app, but it's an electronic online app process. I like it better. Matter of fact, the agents that use it, call centers, love it. Once they get used to doing this, I mean, it's just really, really is beneficial to you and I in a lot of different situations. The policy is completed online by the agent with the exception of the medical and banking information. Now, when I say online, that's on your agent portal. So you would, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here in just a minute. So you go to your agent portal and you fill out everything on the app except for the banking information. At that point, underwriting will, you're going to put a time on there for them to call. Underwriting will call your client within minutes, could be as much as 24 hours. It could be like, say, maybe you're writing a policy at 5 o'clock in the evening, and by the time you get ready to get online, it's 5:30 and they're closed. So within minutes up to 24 hours to complete the application, you will get an email result of a decline or an issue. If it's an issue, you'll have the policy number. It'll be congratulations. It's thank you for submitting. Congratulations, your policy is approved. You'll get that within a short period. I have actually wrote policies, submitted them on the electronic app in the morning, and have approval early in the afternoon. So it's really, really a good process. And I'm going to show you a couple of different ways of how this is beneficial. Let's say it's AEP. We all know the annual enrollment period starts in October of every year. And generally speaking, we get really, really busy at that time. So let's say you're face-to-face with somebody and you do not have time to sit there for another 15, 20 minutes, maybe 45 minutes if you're doing a husband and wife, and you just don't have time to sit there for that phone call. You can actually take the important, pertinent information, fill it out on the app, take it with you, verify their health, make sure they're a good risk. Of course, you're doing our job to make sure we don't want to submit a piece of business on somebody we know has got active cancer. So we pre-screened them. We've asked the health questions. We've asked the medications. We think they're a good risk. At that point, you can say, Ms. Jones, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave with your application. I'm going to take it and enter it on my agent portal. You will get a call from underwriting within no more than 24 hours. You'll probably get it sometime today if it's early in the day when you're there, or early tomorrow. Make sure you tell them to expect a call from an 866 area code, because with caller ID, a lot of times people don't recognize the number, they just don't answer. So make sure if they see an 866 pop-up or an 801 pop-up that they answer that. So at that point, you can go home, have your office staff or your whoever's helping you in the office, if you have help, go to your agent portal, enter everything online, and that thing will be underwritten extremely fast. I don't know why anybody in today's world would submit a paper application when they can do this. If you submit a paper application, especially the guys that mail it, I mean, if you fax it, that speeds it up, but stop and think about mailing an application to a carrier. Well, that takes days for it to get there. It takes days to get on their work schedule, and then takes days to go through underwriting, when you can simply go to your agent portal, enter everything online, and get an underwriting decision in 24 hours. That's huge. If we can get business placed, we can conserve business. Or, guys, you can simply, if you have a hotspot, or you have computer or internet access where you're at, you can fill everything out on your agent portal. You can wait a few minutes. Well, I'm saying 5 to 10. You really don't have to wait. It's just like, you know, if you're ever talking to somebody and you send an email and you're talking to them on the phone, say, have you got it yet? And they say, no, oh, there it is. So give it a time. It's just like an email transferring. Do a 3-way call. They'll have everything on the insured. They'll have their name, their address, all the stuff that we've seen on the application. They have all that. At that point, all they got to do is verify a couple of things like name, social security number, and they'll move right into the health questions, the pre-ex, and the banking information. So you'll cut your wait time down by, you know, in half. So just a huge benefit. Usually it takes about 9 to 12 minutes for the underwriter to complete an app in that situation. Policy is issued immediately upon approval, and again, the telephonic app is taken and issued in the back of the policy. Guys, we've been doing this for years. The Online Express app is new, but the telephonic app, this is a process we started many, many years ago. I was a guinea pig on that, and they have really, really got it down to a science. So, and just so you know, they are all digitally recorded, so if there's ever an issue, if you think that the underwriter was unfair or was rude, and that has happened, call us, let us look at it, and I assure you Jose will get sure he gets to the bottom of it, and he will rectify the situation. You know, you never know, maybe the underwriter got news that morning they're getting a divorce or something. Who knows what happens, and they bring that to work with them. So I'm not saying it happens regularly, but things like that have happened, and by being able to go back and listen to that tape, we can tell whether the underwriter was on their game or whether they need to have a set down. So let us know if that happens. Another good thing, again, is we get you paid quickly, and I think you guys will all like that. Okay, so here is what you do for the Online Express app. You're going to go to your agent portal. It'll say up in the upper left-hand corner, GCU since 1892. You're going to move across that blue bar until you come to Support. You're going to click on the Support tab, and this drop-down menu at the bottom will say Online Express app. So you click on that Online Express app, and then you're going to go, the screen right here will pop up. You're going to click on Start Application. And as you can see in red letters, it says all applications will remain on the tracker for 30 days after the policy effective date, so that you can go back and make sure that you did get an approval or something. You can get the results when you click on the individual policy. Okay, once you click that Start Application, if you have multiple states that you're contracted in, you pick that state because the application will be state specific. So click on your state, and then this screen pops up. Now, guys, gals, you're going to start going through an application just like you were regularly filling one out. What is the application date? The applicant's gender. Every time you see one of those, a drop-down menu, that little down arrow where it says select, once you click on that, you will see that you have to fill that out. So if I'm right here, the applicant's title, I got to click on this little down arrow right here, and that will drop down a menu, and you fill out Mr. and Mrs. Anytime you see these required asterisks right down through here as they go down through there, that means something has to be done. That's not an optional. You'll see a couple here that will show optional. Okay, so then you move on down the screen, and it'll say, where do you want that policy sent? Again, you got a required field, so you got to fill out those required fields. When you go down through on the personal information, social security number, you put it right in here. Medicare claim number, you start right here generally and fill that out. However, this is where the letter A goes, right in this little box. However, if you hit Railroad Medicare, their numbers are always in the front. That's why you have 3 different blocks right here for the Medicare claim number. So you keep moving right on down through the app. And again, you'll see a bunch of requireds until you get to these right here. Here's a couple of optionals, one on the evening phone, one on the email address. And best time, this says optional, but I would always put the best time to call that applicant. I'd get it, you know, you can type several letters in there to make sure that you get that all filled in. It's real simple. Listen, if I can do it, I know probably everybody on this phone can do it, because I'm one of these guys that, how do you turn this on? Then what do I do? I can hear Shauna giggling right now. Keep right on going through there. You get your Medicare insurance laws. State laws allow 6 months open enrollment. Are they covered under Part A? When you click on that down menu, if they are covered under Part A, you put their effective date, a little calendar will pop up. You click their effective date. If they're not on Part A, yes, say they're going to be on Medicare next month, you just fill in the effective date just like you're filling out a regular application. Everything's right here in front of you. You're simply just logging it in on the computer. And then you keep moving right on through there about the Medicaid assistances, things like that, their health insurance or current insurance. Again, everything on that app is right here. You'll get down, you have to click on this. Do you agree with the certification of above? You got to click on that. That'll be a yes. Make sure that you cover this stuff right up here. I certify that I have accurate recorded information, things like that. One of the things that about caused me to have a heart attack when I first done this is when the underwriters read the fraud and disclosure warnings. That's when they say, you know, if you've lied on the application, we can send the policy back, and it's anybody who intentionally defrauds an insurance carrier is guilty of a crime, could be punished and put in jail. We have to read that. It's a requirement. You and I are required to read that when they sign the application. So just let them know that we'll read that and that we have not put anybody in insurance prison yet. Sometimes I even tell them, call it insurance prison, make a little joke out of it, just get them prepared for it. Okay, at that point, guys, you simply come right down here and you get the submit button, and that application goes directly to the underwriter. Now, anytime there's something missing, a red line will pop up and it'll take you back to that part of what you didn't fill in, and then you'll be able to correct it. So hit the submit button, it goes to the underwriting, and at that point, you're on the clock. If you're doing the Online Express app, you now know that you will have an underwriting decision within a 24-hour period. Again, done correctly, guys, gals, you can virtually eliminate any type of buyer's remorse by using this process. So we are very pleased with it. We're getting a lot of good feedback. If you have not done it, please take some time, go on your agent portal, do a little experimentation on there. Just don't hit the submit, but you can just, you know, you can get used to filling everything out and then just log out without hitting the submit button, and practice doing it. It's very simple. Again, like I said, if I can do it, it's got to be easy for anybody that has any type of computer skills at all. Okay, guys, again, here's what the underwriter will ask. Go down to Part 8, Part 9. That's the only sections that will not be submitted online. You can submit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 10, and not 8 and 9. That will be the underwriter's part on the Online Express app. Okay, guys, here is a contact information sheet. If you need it, we'll get that out to you. Very helpful to kind of have that in your office so that if you need supplies, because I know you guys are licensed with multiple carriers, how do I get GCU supplies? Go right onto your agent portal, click on GCU supplies, and you can get that. If you have a claims question, you can mail that into that. If you have any type of policy owner issues, there's a phone number right there. And by the way, we do try to answer those as quickly as possible. Generally speaking, you'll get a live person just about every time. So it's very important, I think, especially if a senior citizen's calling in. They don't like answering machines. Okay, my name, Bill Ellsworth. For licensing, you can get a hold of Kendra Shaw or Cindy in licensing. Supplies buttons right there. I'm going to, I think that's, yep, that was the last slide. I'm going to leave that up. At that point, Todd, if you haven't got all the questions answered, do you want to jump in here?
We just had a couple underwriting questions, but besides that, we're good.
All right. Well, folks, I'll leave this up so that if you need to send me an email or get licensing information for about 5 minutes after the webinar is closed out. If you need anything, by all means, call us. We think you're going to like doing business with GCU. The back office is tremendous, and if we can help you in any way, please get a hold of us, and we will do what we can to get you up and running. So thanks for joining us. Have a great day, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.